Welcome to Emerging Ease, where we will focus on unraveling the difficulties in the midst of our journey and move toward forward progress. This program is not meant to replace any form of therapy, and you are encouraged to seek out a mental health professional if necessary. Hey, everybody. Welcome. I want to thank you for tuning in today to Emerging Ease with me, your host, Keisha. I want to let you know if you have any questions, any comments, any positive input that could possibly be helpful to anyone, please put it in the chat. Also, make sure if you have any questions that you kind of want to address or topics you want to address, um, or have me address and we kind of discuss them, please email me at emergingease@gmail.com. Also, if you miss a show and would like to listen to the show again, you can tune into the Batchelor News.airtime.pro. Also, we're on YouTube. If you haven't watched us on YouTube, we're there too. So come on in and let's talk. So last week and the week before, I kind of talked about how I found out that, so many people were looking to address or deal with, in a sense, I hate to say address, kind of deal with the way they've been impacted by racial trauma by moving abroad. So let me tell you what else I found out, which maybe you all already knew, but it's new to me. Africa is not the only place people are going. Another place is Brazil, South America, period. All the countries. Okay. Never knew that, never realized that. But I wanted to kind of touch on, I, first and foremost, I think it's awesome that the limitation of, hey, I always just have to stick in this country and deal with the things that are going on. I'm thankful that that's kind of been lifted and people are open to have different experiences and adventures in life. Not just because, hey, this is like racially tense over here, but because also for the simple fact that we're doing something that is breaking a lot of generational stagnation for a lot of people and their families, because what we're doing is saying, it's okay for me to go out and adventure and live abroad for, a year, 5 years, 10 years, the rest of my days, whatever, and come back and visit. It's okay. And so I appreciate that part. The one thing that I have noticed in the conversations that I've been having is that people are talking about the different things they were doing to prepare, and not necessarily the paperwork part, but the mental and emotional part, because there's some unpacking that has to be done mentally and emotionally, even spiritually and physically, before you do that. Because let's think about it. If you decide, okay, I'm kind of frustrated, I'm kind of stressed out, and I feel like I want to move abroad, then the thing is, if you pack your luggage and sell everything or whatever you do with your household stuff and say, hey, I'm out, you are still toting around those mental, emotional, spiritual bags that you don't need to take to a new experience, to a new part of life. So the thing is, how to start looking at the things you need to for one, when you're unpacking, I'm sorry, I have things pulled up on my laptop as my prompts. Um, as you're unpacking, you need to look at what things have been the heaviest for me, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I'd also like to include physically, because many times our mental, our emotional, and our spiritual baggage will come out in our physical baggage. Whether that may be health concerns, weight concerns, um, self self harm concerns, any and everything like that. There's usually the precursor of something mental, emotional, or spiritual. Um, with unpacking those weights, you have to also look at what those weights have done to you. And so let me kind of break that down. Um, with having mental and emotional baggage, That is going to skew the way you view yourself. That's going to skew the way you view other people. That's going to skew the way you receive from whatever is going on in your environment. Many times it makes it more difficult to receive the positive. It makes it more difficult to listen to constructive information. It makes it so much more difficult um, to be introspective. Okay, so with unpacking that, before you go, I encourage any and everyone, if that's one of your considerations, start to look at the things that have been hurtful to you, not just racially, but in your family, in your relationships, in life, with interactions with other people, the thoughts that you've had towards self. Look, unpack those. Begin to open those and unpack those. Um, with looking at self, that's where, of course, I'm gonna bring it back out. This is where it comes in. Oh, it kind of has a glare. I think that's a little bit better. The gratitude journals. I hope you all are really, really keeping up with these. Mine has helped me tremendously because with anything, exercise included, if you stop and you say, "Oh, I don't need to do anything right now. I'm good. Everything's wonderful. I don't have to keep writing in that journal. I don't have to keep whatever, whatever." And then you stop and then you gradually fall off. You gradually fall off and then you get back to where you were. You're like, how in the heck did I get here? I was doing so well. Then you look back in your journal. Well, I haven't written in it in a month, in 3 months, in a year, whatever it may be. So keep that with you because that can be something that is a layer to mental health services that you may attend. With that also being said, start looking for groups of people that are possibly trying to do whatever path it is you're trying to do. With that group of people, sometimes that can just be a group saying, "Hey, I want to move to Columbia." And you find 10 other people that are trying to do that thing. Now, yes, you all will be able to help each other with the paperwork part, but I challenge you to also talk about the mental and emotional impact because those people are in a similar mindset on a similar path, and you all can be supports for each other. I always encourage everyone to look for supports. This journey that you may begin, just like anything in life, even if you're just moving across the street, it's a journey, right? Um, I always encourage people also look at self. Look at self. How did you contribute to anything you've experienced in the past? There are many things that happen in our lives that we have absolutely no contribution, no control, nothing. It's going on. We end up in the midst of it, and there it is. Um, but look at self. Did you contribute anything to this? I'm not talking about with racial trauma because that's something that just finds you. Trust me, I've experienced it myself. It just finds you. You're minding your business, and here it is, like, hi, and I'm getting ready to bother you today. But any other concerns in your life, how did you contribute to those? And the reason I encourage people to start looking at that aspect, especially from that perspective of what did I do to contribute to it, is because if you don't unpack it, figure it out, resolve it, and replace it with something more positive now, guess what? It's going to be in your backpack on the plane with you. And the minute you get off the plane, you're going to start interacting with people. And in those interactions, you're going to start to look at these people are horrible, these people are rude, these people are senseless, they're uncivilized, or whatever. And really, is it that, or is it that you packed a whole lot of stuff that you did not like in one place and brought it to another place? People do that all the time in relationships. People do that all the time in jobs. People do that when they move from an apartment to a house to an apartment, whatever. Anything we do, we have to look at what we have chosen to pack. When you wake up and go to work during the day or to school, wherever you go, you even have to do that then. Look at what am I carrying with me? Because that is going to be a direct, direct impact on how you view the day, how you view others, how you communicate, how you receive communication, everything. And either you can have like the best day ever, even when stuff is kind of like always on fire around you, or you can have the worst day ever. And so everything is horrible, everyone is horrible, and oh my gosh, I can't take it. It depends on what you choose to pack. Now, the thing is, yes, I'm gonna bring it back out. When you have one of these and you've written in it and you continue to write in it, you can then pack this away. Not physically, you don't have to take it with you. But I remember yesterday or last night or this morning, I put in that I was grateful for blah, 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 blah. I'm grateful that this is happening. I'm grateful that this is coming. I'm grateful that this, and what it does is it causes you to refocus on those positive things. So that way, everything can blow up around you. You're focused in on this is my goal. This is where I'll choose to put my energy. Do that. If you are planning to move abroad, don't move abroad with all the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual stuff you got going on now. Because guess what? You will then relive it in a whole other country where there may be a language difference. So therefore, it's even possibly more and new frustrations that you won't have, that you will have because of that. Also looking at with the way you think, thinking. With the way you think, how is that impacting you now? Are you a person that thinks, hey, it's me against the world? Are you a person that thinks I only have to use four people that will ever support me and encourage me, and that's my whole support? Are you a person that thinks there's an ability to make a connection with any and everyone that I come across, whether it's a long-term connection or a short-term connection, or it's just a brief exchange? There's a way to have a connection there. I encourage you to think about what that is for you. Because if you're thinking it's me against the world, I'm going to tell you up front, just to be honest, you're going to struggle really, really bad in a foreign country. Because America is one of the few places in the world that focuses so much on individualism. I can get it on my own. If I can't get it, I don't need it, or I figure out a way to get it, and this and that. It's just me. Other places are so focused on community and support and encouragement, and let's work together because if we work together, we'll get farther faster and we'll do it in an effective way other than having to recreate the wheel every single time. That's why I encourage you to start reaching out to people who also are moving to a place where you may choose to move to. Have that talk. Look at what all is going on with those people. What are they? Who are they connected to? What are they connected to? What can you bring to help the group too? Um, think about that because I encourage you to push out of and push past that. It's me. It's only me mentality because that brings extra stress too. So that's bringing extra physical stress, which then causes more physical health concerns, extra mental stress, and now you're kind of like, my brain is foggy and my thinking, I'm burnt out. I just kind of want to be excuse me, emotional blockages because now you're like blocking out every single person. I don't want any connection with you because that means an emotion may be attached and emotions are strong and I don't even want to deal with it. So then it's very general, blank, and empty connections. Okay, I have a comment. Shauna said psychologists and counselors have learned that encounters with racism and discrimination are active trauma, not trauma, because I'm so excited today. Many are familiar with racial battle fatigue. Very true, very, very true. Now, Shauna, I will say to that comment, there are many people that know about it. However, make sure if you're reaching out to someone for those services that you ask them, do you have any specific training in this? Okay. That is so much more helpful when you go in because then in addition to whatever theory they use to work with you through that racial trauma, um, they can also build in that piece of the training specifically for dealing with racial trauma in a way to help lessen possible triggers and help you get to a place in a healthier fashion where you can identify triggers as they come along and find ways to properly cope and address those. So that's really, really, really good, Shauna. Thank you. before I go any further, I kind of want to take a moment um, to remind you to please listen on Friday from 5:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time when the featured artist this week, y'all are not ready for this, is Rochelle Farrell. When I say I would love to meet her, Jill Scott, and Erica Badu, because those three helped me through college and grad school. Their music is amazing. Also, every Sunday through Friday from 8 p.m. to midnight, listen to Whisper Softly, Love Songs on the Batchelor News Radio Network. We'll be back after this break.
Required listening with Amazon Music.
Dad music again?
The greatest guitarist of all time.
Wait, who?
Alexa, add this song to a new playlist.
Sure, what's the new playlist name?
Jack's Intro to Classic Rock.
Adding Stepping Stone by Jimi Hendrix to Jack's Intro to Classic Rock playlist.
Amazon Music, the simplest way to listen to the music you and soon he will love. New customers start your 30-day free trial at amazonmusic.com. Renews automatically, cancel anytime.
All right. Thank you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, we have a comment from Dr. O, and it's kind of broken at the bottom of it. So, Dr. O, if you'd also comment and add on, says many are under the inaccurate assumption that a racially traumatic experience only presents as an overtly physical or verbally aggressive encounter. However, racial trauma can result from something as benign as unintentionally racially insensitive comment made in jest to a hate crime. It's very true, very true. Usually in our day and time, um, people are not as overt as maybe back in earlier times. And I hate to say times because people are overt now and can be overtly, outwardly hateful and very traumatized people. But there's the small slights or the things that they think, oh, you won't catch it. Okay. Like for instance, you're in a business meeting and you're trying to ask a question and you're overlooked. That can kind of seem like, well, there's a lot of questions, and there's a way to for a person who's trying to be um, deceptive about their true feelings towards you. That can be their excuse. Well, so many questions I didn't get to you. I mean, we've all seen the thing with Sesame Street characters. I hate to bring that up, but we've all seen that. And initially, it was so it's a whole crowd of people. They're trying to get to folks until there were all these videos that were coming out that were showing, no, it's always the African American kids that are trying to meet their favorite character, get a hug, get a high five, and they're being bumped over, they're being walked past. One that I saw my husband showed me the other day, uh, the the character was walking by and they were like, "Mm." And I mean, that was outward. But the thing is, it had to take that many videos to come out to show. No, this is not just, oh, it was just a big crowd and we couldn't do this for everyone. It was, like outward, disregard, outward thing. And the only thing that was in common was that they were African American. So it's sometimes it's tricky in the way that people try to cover their biases. And so be mindful of that. Be mindful of what that's doing to you. Okay. Find someone to talk to, even if it's a friend, but find a friend that is balanced. Now, with that, people say, oh, I have a friend. We all have a friend that if you call the right friend, let me break down the friend thing. If you call the right friend and you're crying, they are already in your driveway with a shovel and a black hoodie on, right? What's going on? But there's also those friends we have that are more balanced that can say, okay, now let's look at this critically. Okay, let's see what's going on. Jane said she is Black, and Black American adults say they have experienced racial discrimination. About half of college educated Blacks say they have feared for their safety due to being Black. Yeah, yeah. You know what? I almost wonder too, Jane, if that's even a little bit higher, but maybe some people don't want to come out and say, hey, this was racism, overt or covert. And therefore, they kind of want to give, what is it, the benefit of the doubt to people. Well, and I encourage people, don't, everything is not necessarily racial bias, okay? Everything is not discrimination. But start to look at and take down why these things happen. Why is this person interacting with me in this way? Why is this person ignoring me? Um, what what's the purpose? And if it does come to be a racial thing, give that the place that it has. Say, hey, this, you don't like me because of my race. Um, Case in point, um, we have a neighbor, and my husband's probably like, oh, here she goes. We have a neighbor that has been initially covertly, but more recently overtly uh, distant and difficult, and just doing things to be hateful pretty much toward us. And we are their only neighbor in close proximity to them that's African American. They've cut down our fence. If that's not hurt, I don't know. But they covertly go and try to fill out how everyone else feels about it so then they can get more people on the bandwagon. But it depends on how you choose to respond to those things too. Mike said he is black, and why is it that in good times racism is a stressor, in bad times racism is trauma? Well, Mike, it's not that it's ever different. I The thing is, we're finally giving space to what it is trauma. Um, it's not a stressor. It's always traumatic when someone is interacting with you and they're choosing to be biased and to walk in biasness in that communication based solely on your race, something you have absolutely no control over. That is always traumatic because what it causes is, if the person is not secure within who they are and where they are in life, then they begin to question themselves, attempt to separate some kind of way, disassociate from what is considered African American, and attempt to assimilate with whatever the majority is uh, in that communication in that area, to then attempt to draw less less attention. It's trauma because always, even back in the day, it was trauma. It's always trauma. It's just now we are allowing ourselves the space to say this is traumatic. It's not stress. Stress, you can go for a walk and be okay. Trauma, you can't go for a walk and be okay. So it's always been that. Maria in Charlotte, North Carolina said racial stress may cause depression, feelings of hopelessness, increased anxiety, and sense of betrayal. Exactly, exactly. And Maria, you feel so distant from people because of the betrayal, the wonder of when it's going to come, and the depression symptoms, that you begin to even separate from those people that were originally in your support, which is another reason why when people are saying, you know what, tired of America, tired of this, I'm moving away. Wait, before you do that, unpack all of that stuff first. Start unpacking it, start breaking it down. Because if you pack it and you take it away with you, you're going to have that very same experience. You may have more people around you that look like you, so therefore it's not a racial thing, but folks will find a way to always find a difference in people, period. Period. If it's not race, it's going to be, oh, this person's taller, this person's heavier set, this person's whatever. Maria also said that racial trauma can negatively impact and weaken the body's allostatic load and cause various physical symptoms such as increased cortisol levels, cardiovascular disease, yeah, hypertension, stomach aches, headaches. Racial trauma can also cause PTSD. Very true. Very, very true. And the thing with that is, now that we have an understanding and or a definition for what PTSD is, I would be willing to challenge people to start thinking, what things do I have similar to someone who has maybe PTSD from being in a war zone, whether it's a person who was a civilian or in the armed forces. What do I have similar to a person that's experienced domestic violence or witnessed domestic violence that has PTSD? What similarities do I have? One thing that I've noticed overall is hypervigilance. As Black people, and I know I'm not the only one, so I want to see some hands raised on this. Um, when you go someplace, first thing I'm thinking and looking for is how many other people look like me. If I'm the only one, I am on 10. Like, I want to keep a certain distance from people, make sure the way my interaction is coming across, as many people say, code switching. I'm not going to speak the way I would speak with, people that I know or that know me. I'm going to be very proper. I'm going to try and make sure my grammar is as good as it can get because it's not perfect. And I'm going to be extra hyped on the things that I hear, the smells around me, how close people get to me. And so that right there, hypervigilance is one of the big, huge things that's going on with people that have been diagnosed with PTSD. Another thing is people with PTSD that have been diagnosed usually distance themselves from a lot of things that may be like exhilarating for other people, like big groups, like concerts. No, because it's too many people to watch. It's overwhelming. Everything is tuned in, and I got a million people around me. That's too much. And so, what many people do that have horrible racial trauma that they have not unpacked, they begin to have those experiences on a day to day, and it becomes normal. So to go back to that, why it's stressor versus trauma, it's not. When it becomes normal, the thing is, we then say, "Oh, well, that's a stressor." No, it should never be. It should never be. It's always trauma. Always, always, always trauma.
Lakeisha,
So yes, yes,
this is LA. I didn't mean to interrupt you because I had a few people, including myself, ask. PTSD is usually equated with war and people going through those type of things. So, it is racism in particular what's going on with these hearings because of January 6th. Would can you, as a therapist, can you equate that to, I mean, not to diminish people who've been in the, battle or whatever, but can you
mhm,
equate something like that with, the people that are stressing out, like they're looking at TV and, it's just doom and gloom all the time, that they're going through some similarities, if you will?
yes, yes. Of course, that's actually called secondary trauma. With secondary trauma, that means you are not in the situation directly. You were either a witness, either because you were a bystander, or you're seeing it on TV. So those people that have experienced secondary trauma can very well be experience PTSD. Very well, very well. And that's why it's encouraged, or I encourage people when things become too heavy on the news, or even with the hearings, step away, step away, and think about why is this impacting me like this? And then also maybe I just need to take a break from it. Sometimes I myself have to take a break from the news. Even the hearings, I have to take a break from it. I tried one day to just listen to it and I was out and about doing something. I was like, I'm gonna put my earbud in and I'm still listening. And it became so overwhelming because of the things that I understand and the things that I was listening to, and like, are we really going to have to break this down like that? Should this be understood? The purpose of this statement, the purpose of keeping this information away. And so I had to decide, let me take this out. Let me just focus on where I'm at, because already I was, hyper vigilant because I was out and about. So be very mindful that when things become overwhelming like that, give yourself that space and that time to step away from it and unpack. Because what it is it's triggering even more. And when a person is in hypervigilance, they can continually be triggered, and it continues to escalate. And in that continued escalation, it promotes more room for anxiety to come in, more room for depression to come in, more room for those physical, psychosomatic issues to come through. So be mindful of that. don't allow yourself to remain open to all of that. Thank you for that question. And thank you for all the questions today, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. I am loving the show, loving the topic, love the feedback. Keep it coming. I want to tell you thank you for tuning in today to Emerging Ease with me, your host Keisha. I hope this discussion has been and will continue to be a blessing and very helpful for you in your life's journey. I want you to remember to tune into the Bachelor News.airtime.pro. And you have been listening to Emerging Ease here at Bachelor News Radio Network.
Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you for taking such a time as this to participate in your personal improvement with Emerging Ease. I'm Keisha, your host. Remember that in everything, there's an opportunity to learn and grow. If you are experiencing a difficult time, please reach out to the National Crisis Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. And I look forward to hearing from you next week on Emerging Ease with Keisha.